Welcome to the Navigating My Crazy podcast. I'm Shayla. Navigating My Crazy is a weekly podcast created for moms trying to balance life, family, purpose, and wanting to improve their mental wellness. Our goal is to inspire conversations necessary to end the stigma associated with mental health and the unrealistic societal expectations related to being a mom. But most importantly, to create a community so that no mom ever feels alone as we all navigate this crazy thing called life together. Let's start this show. All right, so on this episode of the Navigating My Crazy podcast, we're going into the third part in the series, Marriage and Mental Health, called The Second Time Around. The purpose of this series is to openly talk about the ups, downs, highs, and lows of the married life. So helping me in this particular discussion is my sister, Miss Disha Ellis. Thank you for joining us, Dee.
No, thank you for having me. Somehow I knew I'd end up on the podcast.
No choice. So just to do an introduction, because of course she's my sister, but you guys have no idea who she is. She is a mom of 3 young adults and soon to be a wife again. But she will actually be marrying my brother, Shane, for the second time. The second time around, though, Disha has been diligent in really bringing her true self to the table and having her eyes and arms wide open. She says she's being bold enough to be herself openly, and it has been a blessing and a curse, but she's balancing it all the best as she's learning how to do every day. Over the years, she says she found herself allowing herself to be the one person that anyone in her family could call. But she's learning that she can't do that anymore. This time, she's completely dedicated to being everything for herself and for her spouse so that they can move forward together. So that was awesome. Thank you, Disha.
Oh, thank you. It's eye-opening to see who I really am at 40, knowing that it sometimes does take this long to know who you really are. I always say, when I grow up, people are like, aren't you already grown up? I'm like, no, girl, I'm still that little girl sometimes. We have to adult, and then when we come home, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, even with your own family. Sometimes you still have that shield of, I got to be this, that, and the other, and you still are struggling to find yourself, and nobody knows that because you got to be the mom. You got to be the one that everybody looks to. So,
yes, and that's that reflection in both of us. You know, we're able to really bounce things.
Yeah.
We have so similar experiences. So I want to take it all the way back to the beginning of the Shane story. So how did you guys meet initially?
Initially, he was a customer of mine, obtaining a loan, and I just thought, working in customer service in the public, you may have people hit on you 3, 4, 5 times a week. Like it may be every day, and I just thought it was just another one of those, this guy's hitting on me, let me get my transaction done so he'll leave. Eventually, my supervisor at the time, he actually was from where Shane was from. He knew the family name, so he was doing a little background check unbeknownst to me. And finally, one day he just said, hey, I think this guy really is being genuine. He's not, just some random guy trying to hit on the girl in the office, And eventually he kept asking, when are we gonna go out on a date? And I said, well, policy, I never date my customers. Like that's a no-go. I can't. The following day he came in and paid off his loan. He said, okay, rip it up. I'm not your customer anymore. and that was that. I was like the first, he's serious. I had small kids at the time, so he knew where I worked, and that's all he knew of me. So I had him meet me at my work parking lot, and we just went just a little simple couple drinks. It was sweet, but of course your mom got your kids. So it was hurried. It was rushed. We dated off and on just for about 3 or 4 months, maybe a movie here, dinner there, drinks here and there. So after about 3 months or so, I thought, okay, this is getting to be pretty serious. He was older, 12 years older to be exact. And he was of another race. So that was also a big, huge step for me, because the whole entire time it was, what's my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? What are my kids going to think?
What are your sisters going to think?
Yeah, what are my sisters going to think? And that was an adventure in itself.
So I'm going to interrupt to tell the story, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I have to tell everyone the story of how I met my future brother-in-law. She was very secretive about her dating, and she didn't really share that things had gotten serious. So I happened to be in the parking lot of a CVS one evening, and I looked through the doors and I saw my nieces and my nephew inside of the store. But as I looked, it looked as if they were with this white guy. 3 little black kids with a white guy. We live in Louisiana. It's just not the normal thing that you see around often.
And we're from the other side of the track, so.
Those are my nieces and nephews. So I was like, what are they doing with the white guy? So I started immediately, like I called our older sister. I tried calling her mom, and I'm like, what's going on? I tried calling her. Nobody's answering the phone. So I'm getting ready to call the police. Finally, her mom calls and was like, oh, yeah, that's Shane. That's Disha's boyfriend. So luckily she called in time that I didn't call the police to have my future brother-in-law arrested for kidnapping.
13 voicemails later.
Nieces in my neck. But I interrupt. But those are fun times. So as you guys dated, so how was it did you guys get any pushback from anyone on either side of the family?
My mom's side, I could sense the tension because those particular aunts and uncles grew up in a time when, they saw actual KKK and things like that. So for me to introduce another relationship, because of course I was married before, and for me to introduce someone of another race, and he's significantly older than me, for my mom's side of the family was very, wow, where's this going to go? Some of them, I say about half of them were like, hey, go for it. This is great. And the other half were like, we don't know about this. However, it didn't take long for Shane. We know Shane. It didn't take long for him to sell everyone on him. It was more or less my dad. I was, daddy girl. So I was afraid of what my dad was going to think. And of course, at this time, my dad was just getting into his illnesses with his diabetes and stuff, losing his eyesight. And actually, the first time he actually met Shane, he didn't really know whether Shane was black or white. The diabetes took over his eyesight. And later, when I got to the house, my mom called and said that my dad asked, was he really light skinned or was he white? Because I'm not sure. But after my dad met him and got to know him, it was my son-in-law. I think he went to his grave saying my son-in-law. Absolutely. So him and my dad were best friends.
Just so people aren't confused, she's not my blood sister. And so when I say sister, that's because we are sisters, but not by blood. Just in case anybody's confused. Okay. Yeah. So you guys dated, got the family's approval. We're all in. We have this wedding coming into this situation, and you have 3 kids already, and Shane doesn't have any. What were some of the issues that may have occurred like early on that you guys had to get used to?
Oh, early on, since I've been a mother since 15, the age of 15, very young, I had to grow up pretty quickly. I didn't have that middle part when everybody's kind of finding out who they're going to be or what clique they're going to get with. And I didn't really have that. I say my late teens, early 20s, I was a bit more mature than most people around my age, and some older people who, if they've never been like around kids or had that responsibility, I just say that I had a lot more responsibility. Right. So he came from not having that responsibility, just being himself. He was married before, and again, he was just out there doing the bachelor thing. Right. So he came at it like, I have to be these kids' friend. I have to be their friend. So our very first arguments were like, you gotta kind of reel back on the buying them. You don't have to buy them. You don't have to be their super best friend all the time. They need to see that part of you that is molding them to be better. Yeah, we want to be the ones that they come to, but you have to find that medium, that balance of, dad Shane and friend Shane. That was almost a constant for the first couple of years. Right. That was a struggle for him. It was a struggle for him. And for me, it left me going from a single mom of 3 to a single mom of 4, almost in my mind at the time. He's grown, right, but still in my mind, oh my gosh, I have another kid. It was a struggle for him. But then in the end, he would see like, oh gosh, maybe I should have done this or done this. And the kids wouldn't have maybe made that wrong decision, or I see how much this is pressuring you, or how he saw the toll it took on me. So I say a couple of years it took, though.
Right. Because you, of course, had to be the disciplinarian of all
Yes.
things, because he
Of
was
all
a friend,
things.
right?
Yes. I was always bad cop. He's good cop. And I didn't come from that background of where you go, oh, sweetie, sugar, honey. I came from that. You get over there, you sit down, you do what I tell you.
Right.
And he came from a different aspect. So we had to melt those two lives. It was just the big gumbo of a family.
I think that was one of the things that won my sister and I over with Shane, was because the kids absolutely loved him. What were some of those things about him that helped you decide, yes, I want this guy to be my husband?
He brought out a softer side in me. I've never had anybody just make me light up like that. It was almost all about me. It was something totally different. When you're with him, you have his attention. It was a lot of more of the affection that I wasn't used to. I don't even think I ever saw my parents really kiss or anything like that.
Right.
And here he is, and he's like, give me a kiss, say I love you before we leave at the end of every conversation. If he passed by me in the kitchen, it was like he gave me a touch to feel, to let me know that, he's thinking about me throughout his day at work. He would give me a call just to say, hey, things like that we take for granted sometimes. But it was totally different from how I grew up. My parents were just complete opposite of what I think me and Shane are, as far as the affection and things like that. And he was willing to love me in front of my kids. It wasn't just like a thing that we kept secret and like, no, y'all don't do that in front of y'all. No, he believes in loving your wife in front of everyone. He wants everyone to know, this is my wife. I take pride in my wife. That was one of the things that won me over, because it wasn't like that in my first marriage at all.
And so I know it was a period when he got sick. Mm-hmm. And I know that kind of took a toll. So can you talk just a little bit about, the changes that occurred when the house gets sick?
That took a huge toll, because at that time, I think I was really getting to the point that I needed counseling for myself, for my mental wellness. And then all of a sudden, boom, my stability, everything went away. I still ended up being everything for everybody. Right. Because, I had to be the breadwinner of the family, because when he got sick with his liver failure, he could not return to work. Like the day he found out, and he was having these symptoms all along. But then when it just got really serious and the liver completely almost failed, he went into renal failure. He couldn't go back to work. There was no more checks coming. And with disability, you have to prove to them that you're sick. So it threw the whole entire family for a loop. And at this point, my dad was really getting bad sick with his diabetes and heart failure. So there was a period of time where me and my parents, we really didn't physically see each other for about 2 years straight, because of the illnesses. And again, my mental health was not up to par at all. At this point, that is when I lost a lot of weight at that time. Mm-hmm. I was working out a lot at that time, because the working out was my sanity. And people thought, how are you making this work? Truth be known, I was only getting about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a day. I was nurse, doctor, breadwinner, going to work. I even took the worst shift at work in my department, just put me on the late shift, because I had to come in late most days, because we had to have doctor's appointments and this and that. And of course, he is almost emasculated, because he had to depend on me for everything. Right. So that put him into a horrible state of depression and anxiety. And then a lot of times he really didn't know what was going on with his body because of his illness. The ammonia levels in his brain, I refer to it as having a 200-pound 4-year-old, because sometimes he would completely not know what he was doing. He'd be in there trying to make a sandwich or anything, and the kitchen would be like he made a 7-course meal. It was very tough for everybody, for the kids to go from this big brawny dad that could do everything and anything. And we went on vacations and stuff prior to all this. And he was very active in the kids' life. He was softball coach, football coach, everything. And for him to all of a sudden in one day just go, boop, nothing, it was tough for everybody. Like everybody was at a loss. That was a super, super tough time, but we got through it. And I always say, like, during that time, I called us the strongest family ever, because I've seen people crumble for a lot less. But
Right.
it teaches you to be humble, and it teaches you that, as long as you have some faith and just keep trying every day, show up every day. There's always somebody out there that's got it worse.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. As he began to recover, do you think the toll that the illness had on your marriage stayed, or were you guys able to recover as he recovered?
I don't think we fully recovered as he recovered. I think I had some kind of resentment because a year after we got married, we moved. We moved away from my family. I was in a whole far away. I was in a whole new state, whole new environment. I didn't have anybody I felt like I could turn to or lean on. So I had to keep up this front. And then all of a sudden it was broken with his illness. But it did take a toll. So when he started to get better, I still held on to that resentment. I was like, oh gosh, you moved me away from my family. Now my life is over. I got to survive. We even lost our home.
Yep.
So for me, that was a lot. It lasted some years. Mm-hmm. And I think he became so dependent on me to fix it, because I'm a fixer. That's what I do. I come in and I clear it out, and we're going to start from scratch and we're going to go. I was the fixer, and I didn't get back into letting him be the husband after the fact. I had to learn that closer on. Actually, I didn't learn it until after we got divorced.
Right.
So I had to let him be the husband. But we were both so apart after he got well from his illness. He was trying to find himself again, and I didn't know who I was anymore.
Right.
So we had grown so far apart. He felt like he couldn't tell me anything. Everything that he did tell me, I was going to make an argument out of it. And I felt like everything that I told him, he wasn't going to care. He was like, oh, whatever, I'm
you
going
to take care of it.
Yeah, I had to take care of it. So that was after the illness was over, and we ended up moving back closer to home because we were not in a financial place to be that far away from home. We needed to be closer to our family. It just made it better. And his dad allowed us to live in a home for pretty much for free that he owned for a while. And that helped us get back on our feet. And he knew I needed some time off because he knew what I went through taking care of Shane while he was sick. So that allowed us to kind of get ourselves back on our feet. But I think we just went into a period of not talking about anything. We're just not going to talk about it.
Right.
And that was it.
What made you guys finally decide to say, okay, let's all this quits?
Like I said, we were so far apart. It got to a point where Tori, with the baby in the house, he's still in the house. He's in high school. Mm-hmm. We couldn't even make a decision on whether he could get his driver. We couldn't make any decision together. Can Tori use the car? I say yes. He says no. He says no. I say yes. Everything was separate. I would sleep on the couch. He sleep in the bed. I sleep in the bed. He sleep on the couch. It was just like we were roommates. There was no infidelities or anything like that, but it's just we couldn't find a common ground. We didn't have a common ground anymore.
Right. And do you think
both struggling?
The resentments that have built up between you guys, he felt like you had taken all of his decision-making skills. You felt like he had given them all to you. So it was just that stuff that you guys didn't discuss that was building up?
I was very much don't talk about it, and in the morning we'll wake up, it'll be better. That don't work. Right. So it just puts another layer of skin over that, and then you end up having this big old callus. He's not an arguing type or sit down and talk about it type. He's also kind of like, just forget about it. And so we're both two of the same when it comes to that. Neither one of us like to argue. We don't like to just hash out stuff, but we have to force ourselves to. But at that point, anytime we forced ourselves, it was just this big chaos.
Right.
And at some point, he just started making major decisions without my consent, and then that would put us further in a financial strain, further apart.
Right.
And at one point, I just said, "That's it. I'm done. It's over." And he was totally clueless. Like, he had no idea.
Right.
At one point, somebody at my job was like, "I heard the funniest joke." And I was like, "What?" She said, "You're getting divorced." I was like, "It's not a joke. I am divorced."
Right.
Everybody was shocked. I mean, from even the family members that I had to fight to get this man into my family and say, look, I'm marrying him. This is it. Yeah. Even my family members were like, "What are you thinking? Y'all are the perfect,"
right,
insert quotation marks, perfect couple. And I thought, you have no idea how much I smile through everything.
And so, I remember you putting me in check, because I will hold my hand up and say I was those family members. That's my brother. I love him. He's like the person on the planet. What's going on? Why you can't work it out? And you look, I'm doing this for me. I cannot do this anymore. I'm your sister. Okay, you're right. Like you said, basically for your mental health, you had to take yourself out of the situation to get yourself better, to focus on you. And that was just so eye-opening. And it was just like, I just loved you so much at that moment for being able to finally, because we don't take the time for ourselves. Like, look, this is about me. I've been taking care of people since I was 15 years old.
Right.
I have to take care of myself. And it was like little sister became big sister, because yes. Right, and it was even watching you do that. It gave me the courage to say, hey, should take care of yourself.
It may be time for you to take a break.
You giving me those reminders that I was important, because I was able to see you put yourself first. And I was like, okay, you go, girl. Because of course you do love him. And was at that point still in that transition because of his medical recovery, his mental recovery, just all of that. And you just having to tell yourself you're not responsible for that. How was that process for you?
It felt so selfish. Oh, it hurt. It hurt a lot. I could be a chameleon and people think, gosh, she's just living her life and not caring, like, gosh, girl, why are you just being so mean to Shane? I'm like, no, it's not about being mean to Shane. I'm being good to me.
Come on now.
So, I remember the conversation with my mom that I needed to come home, and she was just like, no. And I thought, my mother doesn't want me, and then finally I thought, no, it's not that. She doesn't understand. My mother stayed in a 40-year marriage where it was tough. Back in the day, those back in the day,
stayed to stay.
She stayed to stay. And I can remember as a little girl telling my mama, you need to go. So for me to leave, it just, for her, was like, you're going to leave your house. That's your house. You help build that house. You're not going to leave your house. Y'all work too hard for that. Well, what are you going to do? My mom's at a point in her life where she wants to live her life, and I don't blame her. But you don't. And at that point, I got sick of hearing, what about Shane? Well, what about Shane? Well, what's Shane going to do? Or what's Shane think? I don't care. I text my mother, I need you to understand this.
Right.
I do not care what Shane thinks. Shane has to do for Shane, and I need to do for me.
Right.
And I said, I don't know what I need to tell you to make you understand that I just need to come home. Right. I'm your daughter, and I need to come home.
Right.
And at that point, she was like, "Oh, this is serious. We're really doing this." I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming. My car is loaded. I'm coming." So for that period of time, I was driving back and forth, hour in the morning, hour in the evening, every day. And everybody thought, that is insane. No, it was my me time. I made a point to get up early every morning. I'd stop by, get my coffee, my breakfast burrito, or whatever I was going to get a smoothie, turn on my whatever on YouTube was encouraging, inspirational, whatever. And I listened to things, even if I thought it wasn't pertaining to me, if I thought it was anything self-help, just listen, and I was going back like, with my girls, how I raised my girls, and with my son, and my interactions with my son, I was finding out things that somebody needed to tell me years ago, just by digging in and saying, I need this self-help. I don't care what it is, I'm going to listen to it. It's on Tuesday, it's going to be Jesus, on Wednesday, it's going to be self-care, but working out, fitness, whatever. So every single day I made it a point. I didn't really get out and get as far as active and going out visiting friends and things like that, because I didn't want any other input as, girl, you need to be doing this, and girl,
right.
No, I know that I need to be doing something for myself. And right now for myself is just wrapping my mind about where I want to be, who I want to be, and the things that I want to do in my life at 40. So
right.
it was like a refreshing time for me. Like I've never, like, it's just like you go to a sauna or a steam room and you come out and you're like, oh, my skin is so fresh. That is what that time was for me. It completely scraped out all the gunk in my head, you know, and everybody needs to take time to do that. If you have all that built up and you've not released it to anyone or anything, at least give yourself some free time away from anyone and anything. So
when did the conversations start, or did they ever stop? So were you guys still in communication? Did you like cut him off completely? Once the papers were signed, did you guys end it all? And like, how was that?
Well, of course, at this point, we had been together for almost 13 years. So every aspect of our life was intertwined. Every aspect. 13 years of finances,
Right.
yeah, they are intertwined. Yeah. Our kids, we have a system with the kids to where they have certain things they won't talk to me about. They talk to him. Certain things they don't talk to him about. They talk to me. So I had to think about all of that. I mean, for most of those 13 years, he's been my family's car salesman and financial guide and carpenter, exterminator. So it was just everything. Like I felt like I was crushing everything, but we didn't completely cut off everything. We decided what we were and we're not going to talk about from jump. Well, I do think for like maybe a week, that first week, I just cut off everybody. Like it didn't start with me leaving the house. It started with him leaving the house. And then when I figured out I couldn't handle it all on my own, I needed to go home to my mother because he was just right down the street at his mom's. That's when I decided that, okay, we do have to have some kind of communication, because I had just shut everybody out. But then we made a decision. These are the things we are going to talk about when it comes to the kids, you know, family members. If they need you, I will forward them your phone number. I think at some point I sent you his phone number. If you need him, don't call me. I don't want to say the words. We had to talk about certain things. Like I said, it was Tori's senior year of high school.
Right.
But, you know, everybody's like, how could you do this in his senior year? Even he was saying, y'all need to do something because this is ridiculous.
Right.
So he was feeling the stress and the tension of us being in the same household. But we talked, I want to say, pretty much through the whole thing. And I even let him know when I decided, hey, I want to see what it is like to date someone else.
Come on now.
I flat out told him, you know, we're not married anymore. I want to date somebody else. It took him. Yeah. He was hurt. And I could see that. And I could understand it. I mean, oh, wow, there's my spouse going to date someone else. Right. But he came around like within the next day. He said, this is something you need to do. And it wasn't anything serious. It was just a couple dates here and there. And he asked me to just let him know that if it progressed from anything more than just a date, just to be honest with him and tell him. And, you know, I talked to him through the whole entire aspect of the thing.
So were you and he still dating or dating?
He and I weren't dating at that time. Okay. He was living here in the home and I had moved in with my mom and I was dating someone else. And he knew it. It was very hard for him. And part of me was almost ashamed. But then again, I had his blessing, even though it was hard for me to get his blessing, but I had it. And I don't think I could have done it without his blessing.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
So I would have gone on the dates if he would have been like, no, you can't. But y'all divorced.
No. I'm telling you, 13 years, we were each other's best friend. So I still looked to him even when it was concerning someone else. And once that phase went through, he asked me, was there still a chance for him? And I couldn't lie and be like, oh no, I'm over you. I mean, I'm still consulting this man whether I should date somebody else or not. So of course, there's still something there. So he just eventually asked me, would I agree to just once a week, he and I going on a date? And that's what we did, and that kind of got us to now.
So as you guys were dating, because you took the time apart and you were able to really identify, because we had those conversations, like, what the issues were in the marriage and where those conversations that you guys did not have that needed to be had. So were you guys able to throw it all out on the table, kind of where it went wrong?
Yeah. One thing we did agree upon as far as the dating once a week, we agreed to take one issue and talk about it in its entirety. So our dates weren't just dates for fun. Our dates were kind of a therapy session and a healing as well. So we just, each date, we took some time either before or after the date to just sit and talk about one issue, whether it be finances, kids, which the kids was kind of like an ongoing conversation that never stops. Whether it be just recklessness with our livelihood, any and everything. We talked about. We talked about me having a bad attitude, which was very hard for me.
Right.
I don't think I have one, but anyway, yeah, we talked about everything, and me releasing, just him letting me know that he was getting back to the beginning before he got sick, and that's where he was on his way back to, while I was steady on the course to the future, and it just kind of left him behind.
Right.
So we had those self-counseling. We read the Bible together. We did everything. And that was probably a good, I would say about a good 5 months. We did that for 5 months each week. Wow. We went on a date, whether it would just be go get some ice cream or whatever. Sometimes it'd be just sitting on the river. And this means he was actually literally coming from Arkansas to Monroe.
Right.
To my mother's house to pick me up, a real open the door, knock on the door date, not just meet me here, meet me there. So he went through all the physical steps of wooing me all over again.
Yes, bro.
And I allowed myself to be vulnerable and let him do that.
Of course, we were all rooting for him anyway.
Of course.
I mean, because like you said, and I think I said on the episode, like, your families just become so intertwined, and it is hard to.
The hard things for he and I are just surely just decision-making skills. Me allowing him to be a man and make a decision, and me waiting, because everything for me in my life was hurry up. So be patient. Be patient with myself. Be patient and say, I need some time to think about this, which is one of those hard things that nobody wants to say. They want to be, oh yeah, okay. Yes, everybody wants to be the yes man. And nobody wants to say, I need time. And just allowing him to express himself. I was younger, I was always timid, shy, small, meek voice, smiled. Everybody thought, oh, she won't say anything. She just smiles. She's sweet. And over the years, I've shown up in the room, and everybody knew what I said I meant, and that's what was going to happen. He had to push back, and I wasn't used to that pushback. We just decided that we weren't going to do it the second time around like we did it the first. I don't have to be everything. I can be just what I want to be, and there's no pressure on me to be everything. He has dedicated himself to not pressuring me, because he feels like he put so much pressure on me before because he needed me. He had no choice. So we look at everything completely as if the other person, like putting ourselves in each other's shoes, but also just allowing ourselves to be ourselves. Like I can't express that. Finding yourself later in life is a thing. This time allowed us to be like, oh wow, if Shane and Disha are going through it, everybody must be going through it. Yeah.
Y'all were like Disneyland, the happiest place on earth.
And for the most, and we weighed those options. Like, was there more good than bad? And certainly, everybody knows we had a lot of good. Like, even the dynamics of our family, all five of us together, we've had family members to sit back and say, wow, y'all are really close knit. Even our body language and communication towards each other. We have a really good family. It's just that we allowed those hard things to break it up. But going back into it, we just are dedicated to saying, stop. We're going to sit down in a quiet place and we are going to talk about this. There's no more going to bed without it being talked about.
Right. So just as a reflection, like looking back to where you both are now, do you feel that the divorce was necessary?
It was. It was absolutely necessary. I don't think that he would have appreciated having me as a wife unless he had to win me back a second time. I don't think I would have appreciated him, because when you're in it, you're in the household together, you tend to not really notice each other growing. You know,
right.
You look up one day and you're sitting next to a silver-headed man, you know, and you're like, wow, when did you get a gray hair? I didn't even know. So me being away, us being separated, we were actually able to turn around and look and see the whole us. He was able to see the whole me, the broken down me, not the me that fixes everything, me that needed him. Right. And I was able to see the him that was there for me that I didn't think was there.
Right.
It showed up whenever we were apart.
Right. Because I remember one point you did get sick. And I remember him at the hospital every single day. You telling me to bring something, he's already brought it.
Right.
Double dipping.
Right.
But
we're divorced.
In spite of it all, not many men show up for their ex-wife in the hospital. That was an interesting perspective as far as, the divorce. Well, why do it if you were going to get married again? But, sometimes it takes stepping away from a situation to really put in the effort to fix it and to appreciate the situation.
It creates a catalyst for growth, which is an odd term, but it does.
And then the opportunity to date again.
Right.
May also either help you realize what you're missing and what you need from your spouse, and then the things that they had that you realize some of these other people don't have that you need to hang on to.
It was an eye-opener.
Do you feel like it's necessary for you guys to get married again?
I fully believe in the sanctity of marriage. I stand firm on that. I believe that's just one of my beliefs. People may not believe in marriage anymore, but I do. I believe marriage works. And I believe the divorce was created for a reason. Because sometimes you just have to get out. But I totally believe in marriage. It's a goal. Some people don't have that as a goal. And it's always been my goal to have a successful marriage. Even with the mistakes. It's not a like, oh, wow, that was dumb. Y'all got divorced. For me, I don't even look at it that way. Right. If that's what people choose to look at it like, that's fine. That may be their life, but it's not in mine. Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion, entitled to live how they want to live. But I believe that if that God placed us here to join together and become one. So yes, I do totally believe that the divorce was necessary, and I do believe that marriage is in the future. So
get my dress ready.
Right, it's just ready.
I'm excited about this because even the growth that I see in you just from your time apart, because I wasn't excited about the idea of you leaving, but now I'm glad that you did, because like your strength and just your confidence and even the transitions that you made in your career, I see the changes that you've gone through and the progress the time that you took away to really focus on yourself and, you know, really repair and work on your mental wellness is amazing. What's the biggest thing that you've seen the growth in yourself?
I'm now looking at myself in a positive light. When you go through life and you just people tend to think about, oh, well, I was a mom at 15. I had another child before I graduated. Oh, I did this. I messed up. I didn't graduate college. I didn't do this. We tend to look at all the things we didn't do and forget about what we did. A few of my cousins always referred to me as the survivor, but I wanted to be the thriver. And I feel like now I'm actually thriving. I'm not just surviving. I'm getting over things that I did in the past, dealing with my now, and not putting it off. So I don't have to deal with those things I'm putting off in the future.
Right.
Because that's how it is. It's all a cycle. And I'm looking forward to my future. I used to not really look forward to my future. Now I'm looking forward to every day. Like I wake up and I think, I'm the greatest. You know, I made it.
Come on now.
You know, and people have to have that confidence. Like, and I did not have it. Like I said, I'm always been, when I grow up, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I feel grown. You know,
Okay.
I feel grown. I feel like I've stepped into myself, the self that I've been searching for all these years. And that took a lot of unlayering. Things that I didn't even know I needed to deal with, I've dealt with. You know, for the longest, I put off my anxiety. I put off the depression. You know, yeah, I go to the doctor, take a pill, but I didn't really address it. Now I'm addressing things for myself and giving myself those hard talks that I would normally give other people. I'm giving them to myself, saying, girl, get up and do what you need to do. And that is in itself is refreshing if you can pick yourself up. People can give you stuff all day, but when you give it to yourself, it feels so much better. It feels so much better, even whether it be the good stuff or the hard stuff. Give it to yourself so nobody else will have to do it. And I'm proud of myself for getting through all the times that I thought, this is it, this is over, I'm never going to make it.
Right.
I made it. I made it.
Did you guys go to counseling together? Was it both separate?
Both separate. We felt like in a marriage, in order to fix myself, I got to go with my husband. I got to go with my wife.
Right.
No, I need to handle my stuff and he needed to handle his stuff. The person that he speaks with has been through some of the same things. He had never had that male that he could go and talk to and say, hey, this is where I'm screwing up at. And that other male be like, dude, it's okay. We all do it. So he didn't know that he needed to talk to somebody. Right. And he did. It called him on a lot of his, for lack of better words, BS. Stop making excuses and stop saying you're trying and actually just do it. Just do it. So separately, we seek personal counseling. That's the key. You have to be a whole person in order to combine with another person. He wasn't whole and I wasn't whole, and we were trying to force each other to be whole. That's what helped us fall back into each other. And the love really, really never left. Right. Even, I think I even told you whenever I was leaving, I will always love Shane. Always. He changed my life in ways that I could have never imagined.
So what advice would you give to another wife?
Don't hold anything back. You know the issues in that she could stay in and that she can't. I believe that staying for the sake of staying is just, it's like mold. And it will deteriorate. Always consider all the options. It's not just one. All of them. Divorce may be in there. It might not be. But she has to firmly believe in what she's doing. If she does not firmly believe, do not stay in any situation, because we tend to think that abuse and neglect is a physical thing, and it's not always a physical thing. He's not hitting me or he's not put us in a financial strain. Well, that's not all that entails of a toxic relationship. If it's toxic, by all means, go out and get you some cleansing. And it may be more than just having some me time every week. It may be, I need to get rid of this person out of my life, whether it be he or she. They may need to just take a break for the individual to appreciate the other one. And I think that was exactly what Shane and I needed. We needed that break.
Right. Marriage is different. Relationships are different. And, you hear the saying that you shouldn't take a break because then you open the doors for other things to happen. So this whole legal separation, you sent me an article on that, and it was really, really good because there has been questions that have come up. When you're separated, what does that mean? As my husband and I talk, about the perception of marriage. We have this perception of what marriage should be and shouldn't be. We were just talking the other day, and I was like, but who said it has to be that way? What rule book is it that it has to be this way? We have to make whatever it is work for us, no matter what people's opinions are. No matter what we saw on some movie or we put this idea in our head, we have to make it be whatever it is, whether we're together or not. And that's really the reason why I wanted to share your story, because it's so untraditional, but it's so beautiful. And just letting people know to be open-minded and not to let the opinion of others, whether it be well-meaning sisters or family, really, like you said, take away from what you know that you can handle on the inside of you and what's going to make you a better person. So I appreciate you so much journey together, because unfortunately everybody doesn't have somebody that they can bounce this stuff off of that's in the thick of it with them, which is why I wanted to share more stories and more open and honest, because most people aren't talking about it. Like you said, they're smiling and everything looks perfect, and they don't know that, like you said, you go home and I'm sleeping on the couch and you sleeping in the bed. We roll out and everything looks fine. So just being able to share that, and I appreciate you so much for being willing to share. Thank you.
I just appreciate the opportunity to just put it out there, because everybody needs to know that there is someone else out there like me. Somebody else is still going through it.
Right. At the end of the day, that's what was most important, because that's when you start to crack. When you're not being authentic, the cracks start to come because you're trying to present this front of being happy when on the inside you want to scream and pull your hair out. And eventually you start screaming and pulling your hair out, whether you want to or not.
Somebody else's hair, who knows?
Right. Counseling.
Collect ourselves.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Navigating My Crazy podcast. Don't forget to send all of your questions to questionswithans@navigatingmycrazy.com, or you can complete the form on our website at navigatingmycrazy.com/contact. Also, join the community and chime in on the conversations by liking and following Navigating My Crazy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Subscribe and rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. Moms, have a great week and get ready for our next Talk It Out Tuesday.